Frieren the Slayer, a 1,000-year-old elven mage who helped take down the Demon King. But what happens when we throw her into a gauntlet against the most overpowered protagonists in anime history? Gojo, Sung Jinwoo, Luffy, Goku. Today, we find out. Subscribe, and let's get right into it. Before we throw Frieren into the fire, let's quickly break down what makes the Slayer so terrifyingly effective. Don't let the calm demeanor and the quest for silly spells fool you. Frieren is a stone-cold killer with over a millennium of combat experience. Her entire fighting style is built on one simple, deadly principle: deception. Frieren possesses an ability called mana suppression, which is so absurdly broken that she can hide her true power level from even the most perceptive enemies. For centuries, the entire demon race, who are experts at sensing mana, had no idea of her true strength. She can stand in front of a god-tier opponent and appear as threatening as a lost child. This is her ultimate trump card, allowing her to analyze her opponents while they completely underestimate her. Her go-to offensive spell is Zoltrak, the first ever spell designed purely for killing humans, which she later perfected to be especially lethal against demons. It's a simple, incredibly fast, and devastatingly powerful blast of mana that can pierce through almost any defense. But that's just the beginning. Frieren has a massive arsenal of spells, including powerful defensive magic that can tank city block level attacks, elemental magic, and ancient sealing spells capable of imprisoning legendary demons for nearly a century. Attack potency? At least small town level, scaling to city level with some of her more esoteric magic. Speed? Hypersonic, able to react to and outpace her own lightning-fast spells. But her greatest weapon? Her extraordinary genius intelligence. Frieren doesn't just fight, she dissects her opponents. She can analyze and find counters to abilities that are said to transcend logic and reason. She is a master strategist who has forgotten more about magical warfare than most mages will ever learn. Weaknesses? Physically, she's as fragile as any human. But good luck getting close enough to find out. Now that we know the challenger, let's bring on her first opponent. First up, it's the battle of the magic prodigies, the clash of the calm and collected. In one corner, we have Frieren the Slayer, and in the other, the man who stands at the pinnacle of the jujutsu world, the honored one himself, Satoru Gojo. Gojo is, to put it mildly, completely and utterly broken. His power comes from two innate abilities: the Six Eyes and the Limitless. The Six Eyes gives him godlike perception, allowing him to see the flow of cursed energy in extreme detail and process information so efficiently that his brain never gets overloaded. But the real nightmare for any opponent is the Limitless. This technique brings the concept of infinity into reality. The closer you get to Gojo, the slower you become, until you are effectively stopped in an infinite space, never able to touch him. It is the ultimate defense, and his offense is just as terrifying. He has Curse Technique Reversal, Red, a blast of repulsive force, and Curse Technique Amplification. Blue, a magnetic, like void that pulls in and crushes everything. When he combines these two, he creates Hollow Technique. Purple, an imaginary mass that erases everything in its path. And if he gets serious, he activates his domain expansion. Unlimited Void. Anyone caught in this domain is flooded with an infinite amount of raw information, instantly paralyzing them and leaving them in a catatonic state. It's a guaranteed win condition against almost anyone. So, how does Frieren even begin to fight this monster? This matchup is one of the most fascinating tactical battles in anime history. Gojo's Infinity seems like an absolute counter to Frieren's Zoltrak. Any magical projectile she fires would simply get caught in that infinite space, never reaching its target. However, Frieren is a genius who has spent 1,000 years analyzing and dismantling magical abilities far beyond human comprehension. Her mana suppression is the key. Frieren could approach Gojo completely undetected, appearing as a non-threat. Gojo's Six Eyes perceive cursed energy, but Frieren uses mana, a different energy system. While he would see her physically, he would have no idea of the cataclysmic power she's hiding. This gives her the one thing she needs: time. Time to observe. Time to analyze the nature of infinity. Could she find a way around it? Frieren has dealt with conceptual and reality-bending magic before. It's plausible she could develop a spell that attacks space itself, or a spell that doesn't travel but simply appears at a location, bypassing the distance-based nature of infinity. She also has sealing magic. If she could catch Gojo off guard, a powerful binding spell might be able to restrain him long enough to land a decisive blow. However, the moment Gojo perceives her as a legitimate threat, the fight changes. His speed is immense, and he wouldn't hesitate to use Hollow Purple or, even worse, activate his domain expansion. If Frieren is caught in Unlimited Void, it's game over. Her mind, brilliant as it is, would be instantly overloaded. There's no evidence she has a counter to a mental attack of that magnitude. The verdict: this is an incredibly close fight that comes down to who lands their trump card first. Frieren's path to victory is through analysis and a perfectly executed, custom-built spell to bypass infinity. Gojo's path is through his overwhelming hacks and a quick, decisive domain expansion. Given Gojo's combat instincts and the sheer speed at which he can deploy his abilities, the odds are slightly in his favor. Matchup analysis: Frieren 45% versus Satoru Gojo 55%. Gojo barely scrapes by with the win, but Frieren proved that with enough intellect and experience, even the Honored One can be pushed to his absolute limit. But the gauntlet is just getting started. Next up, Frieren faces a monarch of a different kind, one who commands an army of the dead. Frieren may have survived the man who mastered infinity, but now she faces a man who mastered death itself. Stepping out of the shadows, it's the Shadow Monarch, the king of the dead, Sung Jinwoo. Sung Jinwoo is a walking, talking one-man army. Originally the world's weakest E-rank hunter, a second awakening granted him access to the system, allowing him to level up and grow infinitely stronger. But his true terror lies in his signature ability: Shadow Extraction. Jinwoo can resurrect any defeated foe, no matter how powerful, as a loyal shadow soldier. His army is endless, and it includes legendary monsters, dragons, and his elite commanders like the Knight Igris, the Ant King Beru, and the Grand Marshal Bellion. This isn't just an army of mindless zombies. Each shadow retains the abilities and consciousness it had in life, and they can regenerate from any damage as long as Jinwoo has mana. And speaking of Jinwoo himself, he's an absolute powerhouse. He possesses superhuman strength, speed that can blitz entire armies, and daggers that can shred through reality. His monarch's authority grants him powerful telekinesis, and if he gets truly serious, he can manifest a colossal spiritual body, a titan of pure shadow energy capable of leveling entire cities. So, how does Frieren, a lone mage, contend with an infinite army? This matchup is a stylistic nightmare for Frieren. Her entire strategy of calm, methodical analysis and deception is thrown out the window when faced with a literal legion of death. Mana suppression is almost useless here. She can't hide from thousands of pairs of eyes. And the moment she unleashes a single spell, Sung Jinwoo knows she's a threat. Frieren undoubtedly has area of effect spells that could wipe out hundreds, if not thousands, of Jinwoo's weaker soldiers at once. We've seen her use massive fire and ice magic, but here's the problem: it doesn't matter. For every shadow she destroys, Jinwoo can simply say, "Arise," and bring it right back. This becomes a war of attrition, a battle of mana. And while Frieren's mana reserves are immense from over 1,000 years of life, Jinwoo's are constantly being replenished by his system and the sheer scale of his power as a monarch. He can sustain this fight indefinitely, but the army isn't even the main threat. It's the perfect distraction. While Frieren is forced to deal with the endless horde, Jinwoo, an assassin-class fighter, can use Shadow Exchange to instantly teleport behind her for a killing blow. Frieren's physical durability is her greatest weakness. One clean hit from Jinwoo, and it's lights out. Could she seal him? It's highly unlikely. Jinwoo is far too fast and has too many ways to escape, including swapping places with any of his thousands of shadows spread across the battlefield. Her Zoltrak, while powerful, would struggle to hit a target as agile as Jinwoo, who could dodge it or simply let one of his tankier shadows absorb the blow. The verdict. Frieren is an expert at one-on-one duels against powerful mages. Sung Jinwoo presents the worst possible scenario. An opponent who is both a powerhouse fighter himself and commands an inexhaustible army. She simply gets overwhelmed. Her intelligence and experience can't overcome the sheer, crushing numbers and the tactical impossibility of fighting thousands of regenerating soldiers while an assassin teleports around her. Matchup analysis. Frieren 20% versus Sung Jinwoo 80%. A brutal loss for Frieren, but no shame in falling to the Shadow Monarch. The gauntlet continues, and her next opponent is a man who is as ridiculous as he is powerful. Get ready for a clash of magic versus pure, unadulterated freedom, from the darkness of the abyss to the boundless freedom of the open sea. Frieren's next challenge is a man who literally rewrote the definition of power with the beat of his own heart. He's the man who will be king of the pirates, the warrior of liberation, Monkey D. Luffy. For years, we thought Luffy was just a rubber man, thanks to the Gum Gum fruit. But we were all wrong. His true power is the human fruit model. Nika, a mythical Zoan that grants his body the properties of rubber and allows him to fight with unparalleled freedom. And when he awakens this power, he enters Gear 5. In this form, Luffy is a living cartoon. He can warp reality to match his imagination, turning the ground into rubber, deflecting attacks by cartoonishly morphing his body, and even affecting his opponents with this toon force. He can grow to the size of a giant, grab lightning from the sky, and his durability is off the charts. He can take catastrophic damage and just shake it off with a laugh. On top of all this, he's a master of all three forms of haki. His armament haki provides an invisible armor. His observation haki lets him see into the future. And his conqueror's haki can knock out thousands of weak-willed opponents with a single glare. So, how does Frieren's ancient logical magic deal with a being of pure, illogical chaos? This is perhaps the strangest matchup for Frieren. Luffy's Gear 5 is the antithesis of her entire worldview. Magic, in her world, follows a set of rules, even if they are complex. Gear 5 throws the rulebook out the window, burns it, and then eats the ashes. Frieren's primary offensive spell, Zoltrak, is a piercing mana attack. But how do you pierce a man who can turn his body into a rubber sheet and simply absorb the impact, or worse, grab the beam of energy and throw it right back at her? Luffy's physical immunity makes most of Frieren's standard offensive spells completely useless. She can't just blast him into submission. Furthermore, Luffy's advanced observation haki would be a massive problem. Frieren's strategy of a surprise attack is nullified if Luffy can see it coming moments before it happens. He could dodge or counter any spell she prepares. Frieren's only path to victory here is to abandon conventional combat magic and dive deep into her arsenal of esoteric and conceptual spells. Could she use a spell that attacks the mind? Luffy's willpower is legendary, but he's not known for his intelligence. A complex mental attack or illusion could potentially confuse him. Her best bet, once again, is her sealing magic. If she could restrain him, she could win. But trapping a being who can turn the very ground beneath him into rubber and slip away is a near impossible task. This fight puts Frieren in the same position as Kaido was, facing an opponent who simply will not go down, who gets stronger and more ridiculous with every blow he takes. Frieren's magic is powerful, but it's based on a system of logic. Luffy's power is literally the power to defy logic. He is the warrior of liberation, and that includes liberation from the rules of a normal fight. The verdict: Frieren is a genius, but you can't out-think a problem that doesn't think. Luffy's insane durability, reality warping abilities, and future sight via observation haki give him too many advantages. Frieren would be on the defensive the entire time, struggling to find a spell that could even affect the Rubber Man, while Luffy would be having the time of his life, turning the battlefield into his personal playground. Matchup analysis. Frieren 30% versus Monkey D. Luffy 70%. The Pirate King's freedom is too much for the ancient mage to handle. Frieren takes another loss, but the final boss is waiting. She's faced magic and chaos, but can she survive a battle against a literal god of martial arts? Frieren has faced down hacks, armies, and chaos. But now, she stands before the final challenge. A challenge on a scale that is, frankly, astronomical. She's facing a legend, a god of combat who has broken every limit placed before him. It's the one, the only, Son Goku. What is there to say about Son Goku that hasn't already been screamed across the heavens? This man is the definition of overpowered. His strength is literally universe-shattering. He can move faster than the speed of light, teleport anywhere in the universe instantly with instant transmission, and fire ki blasts like the Kamehameha that can obliterate entire planets. His durability allows him to tank attacks that would wipe out solar systems. And that's all before we even talk about his ultimate form, Ultra Instinct. This isn't just a power-up, it's a state of being. In this form, Goku's body reacts automatically, without the need for conscious thought. It is the ultimate offensive and defensive tool, allowing him to dodge any attack and counter with perfect precision. He is, for all intents and purposes, a perfect martial artist, a true god of combat. So, can Frieren's magic even scratch this man? Let's be brutally honest here. This isn't a fight, it's a demolition. Frieren is an incredibly powerful mage in her own universe, but the power scaling of Dragon Ball is on a completely different plane of existence. Frieren's small-town level attack potency is like throwing a pebble at a mountain. Goku wouldn't even feel it. Her hypersonic speed is a literal snail's pace to a man who can cross galaxies in the blink of an eye. Her mana suppression is completely irrelevant. Goku doesn't sense mana, and his entire philosophy is about fighting people at their strongest. He would wait for her to power up just to enjoy the fight. Her only, and I mean only, theoretical chance would be some unknown, conceptual hacks from her 1,000 years of collecting spells. Could she have a spell that attacks the soul directly? Or a sealing spell so absolute that it could trap a god? It's possible, but highly unlikely. And even if she did, she would never get the chance to cast it. The moment the fight begins, Ultra Instinct would perceive the spell as a threat, and Goku's body would react, either by dodging with impossible speed, or simply teleporting behind her before she could even finish the incantation. There is no strategy here. There is no analysis that can save her. Frieren is a master of chess, but Goku is a meteor falling on the chessboard. The verdict. This is a complete and total victory for Son Goku. It's a brutal reminder that in the world of anime crossovers, power levels are not created equal. Frieren is a legend, but Goku is a force of nature. Matchup analysis. Frieren, 1% versus Son Goku, 99%. So, after running the gauntlet against some of the strongest protagonists in anime history, Frieren walks away with a string of defeats. But does that make her weak? Absolutely not. What this gauntlet proves is that Frieren's strength isn't measured in planet-busting power or reality-bending hacks. Her power is in her wisdom, her experience, and her incredible tactical mind. In her own universe, she is a peerless legend, a mage whose understanding of magic is second to none. She is a character defined not by her ability to win every fight, but by her journey through a world that changes around her and the quiet strength she carries from 1,000 years of life. She may not be able to beat Goku in a fistfight, but in a battle of wits, in a war of magic and strategy, there are few who could ever hope to match the quiet, unassuming elf known as Frieren the Slayer. But what do you guys think? Did I get these matchups right? Is there a spell in Frieren's grimoire that could have turned the tide? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to absolutely demolish that subscribe button for more epic anime what-ifs. I'll see you in the next one.